round 3. And I'll start where I finished. Public transportation is the topic. Public transportation is essential for those who cannot drive. We have a lot of elderly people. We have children that need to get to places. Do you support or oppose funding for a bill that would have the elements contained in the form of LD 1248? And if so, will you commit to revisiting the proposed bill in the next legislative session? That's kind of a long one, so I'm going to repeat it. Do you support or oppose funding for a bill that would have the elements contained in the form of LD 1248? And if so, will you commit to revisiting the proposed bill in the next legislative session?
Absolutely, I supported this one. This past weekend, I met a senior citizen, a woman in her 80s, and she shared with me that she'd given up her license to drive. And she lives on a rural road in my district, and she said it is so hard. She said, I can't get my groceries all the time. It's hard to find help to get to my appointments. She said, it turns out I have too much money to be able to get some of the free transportation that exists, but I'm barely making ends meet. So I think we absolutely need to invest in public transportation, particularly given our aging population. And I think, unfortunately, one of the great disasters of this administration is the evisceration of a system that was working really well in rural areas so that the state contracted out with an out-of-state company and spent a ton of money for a system that isn't working for people right now.
Thank you. Without knowing the details of LD 1214, and I just saw this text moments ago when I flipped the page, I can commit to revisiting it. And I'd like to hear what the arguments are in favor of it, because I do know that transportation for folks, older folks, and folks who don't drive or don't have access to cars in Maine, and even single parents who don't have access to reliable transportation, younger folks, is a big challenge for folks in Maine. So I absolutely support that. I know we have the KV Explorer locally that makes trips for folks, and I fully expect that their routes and their service could be expanded and used. When I was thinking about this question, what we got were the topics. The topic item was transportation. I immediately started thinking about longer distance transportation, particularly restoring passenger rail to Augusta, Waterville, and Bangor, and I spoke with some folks this weekend about the viability of that. We have people living close to these transportation hubs. It will cut down on the need to use cars to get people long distances, either possibly get to the hospital in Boston or in Portland at less expense and wear and tear on the roads.
Jan Collins. I'm looking at LD 1248 in the synopsis here, and it is for only seniors and developed, I think it's supposed to be developmentally disabled individuals, and I would like to see that expanded. I know of several people who have had bad experiences with the current system. As Shenna was mentioning, they've got a ride to an appointment, and nobody shows up to bring them home. They wait for hours, sometimes with children at police stations. It's not a good scene. The other thing is that rural Maine is probably more affected by this than any other place because the distances are so far between places, including doctor's appointments, and going to a grocery store can be an hour away. And I have seen people who could not go out to get groceries because they didn't have a means of transporting somebody with a disability. So certainly I would support this and commit to expanding it. Thank you.
I don't know all of the specifics of LD 1248, but it sounds like a very good idea. It reminded me when my husband and I lived in Japan, we were pregnant with our first child, and I spent the very first, over half of the there, and so I got to experience what it was like in their healthcare system and how they treat pregnancy and pregnant women. And one of the benefits was that any pregnant woman, the town would give you these taxi vouchers. And anytime you had to go to the doctor, you would just give them your voucher, and they'd make sure that you could get to your appointments. And that always stuck with me, especially because it was my first experience, how it was treated there. And it shouldn't be difficult, no matter where you live, if you're pregnant, if you're elderly, if you're disabled, to get at least to a doctor's visit. I think that cuts down on a lot of other problems if we can just take care of those kinds of things. So I fully support this idea.
We're an aging state, and the most cost-effective location for care for our aging population is in their own homes. Transportation is a key element to making that happen. And so I supported LD 1248, and I would again.
Thank you. I did support LD 1248, and I will support it again. We're very fortunate in the cities to have like a KVCAP or another transportation system. I agree with one of the Senate candidates at the other end that if we could expand our railways to come up to Augusta and Lewiston and maybe up onto Bangor, people could take long trips on that. But I think we need to revisit some kind of ride sharing offer or not offer. We need to revisit the business that was given to a Connecticut firm that's not doing what it should be doing, and maybe like a healthcare Uber or something that can get our people where they need to go and not have them worry about whether or not they're going to have the ride home.
I'm going to start by playing devil's advocate and say that one of the things that concerns me is at some point there won't be enough money to take care of everything that we want to do. So that's a thought that's in the back of my mind. Having said that, and living in a town where there's a lot of people, the nearest grocery store of any size is 6 miles away. The bank is going from town. The gas station is 5 miles in another town. Transportation is critical. Not just for senior citizens, but it's also for people that want to work. Backyard Farms in Madison has been trying to expand for several years now. One of the deal breakers is they can't get enough people who can get there to go to work. If we had shuttle buses from towns like Harwath to go to a place like that, it would be a win-win for both. I also think that anything that goes along with transportation really and truly should be piggybacked with high-speed internet, because then you can do things like home health care, and you can also decrease people's social isolation. So I'm a huge proponent of better cell phone service and high-speed internet statewide.
I would certainly support revisiting LD 1248. But much like many good proposals, I would like to see if we can make it better. One thing I think is missing from this is a public transportation option for people who are going to and from work. And that's not only important at a fundamental fairness level, but it's also important because that's how we're going to pay for public transportation. Fares and ultimately giving people the economic opportunity to increase the revenue to pay for our programs, which they can do if they can get to work. So I think that we need to look at public transportation both in terms of being a service and also in terms of being something that can ultimately generate revenue if we make it available to working people.
Thank you, Colleen, Madigan. I remember 1248. Certainly, people in rural areas who are elderly or have a disability, getting to their appointments is important, particularly when they're not on Medicaid, when they're on Medicare. And that's kind of what that bill addressed. So I absolutely support revisiting that. I would also support, back when I was in Senate, I put in a bill to fix the Maine care transportation problem, because I think contracting it out in a way is not something, the way it's currently done is not something we have to do in that manner. There was another model that actually would be more effective. The other thing I will say is that we need to address rural transportation as a whole, because you can't, the best way for people to not be poor anymore is for them to go to work. And that's certainly a requirement. There's work requirements now for things like food stamps and, TANF and things like that. The biggest barrier for folks getting off those programs is having a reliable way to get to work, even in bad weather, even when they have car trouble. And so addressing this, the issue of backyard farms is a huge one, things like that. So we need to address this if we want to address the needs of our population, both elderly and poor.
Yes, I would support funding LD 1248. Also, we're an elderly state, we're a poor state. We don't have a tax base compared to other states. And right here where it says Maine spends only 40 cents per capita on public transportation compared to a national average of $45. I'm willing to bet that in there is Medicaid money that other states use as seed money to attract federal dollars. And we could do that if we weren't acting so foolishly. And I think it's time that we started doing that. And stop being penny